On tonight's panel, Victoria Atkins is the government's Financial Secretary to the Treasury. Before her election to Parliament in 2015, she was a barrister specialising in serious organised crime. Yvette Cooper is one of the handful of Labour shadow cabinet members with ministerial experience. She served in both the Blair and Brown governments and is now Shadow Home Secretary. Before he was even 30, Piers Morgan was editor of the News of the World, followed by a long stint at the Daily Mirror. He's since forged a high-profile TV career on both sides of the pond, and now, just a little bit over 30, he anchors his own nightly news show on Talk TV. Halima Begum is in charge of the international charity Action Aid UK, who have colleagues on the ground in Gaza. Until this year, she was CEO of the racial equality think tank, the Runnymede Trust. And Jake Wallace-Simons runs the oldest Jewish newspaper in the world, the Jewish Chronicle. His newly released book, called Israel-Phobia, examines anti-Semitism through the ages and what can be done about it. Good evening from London. Welcome to our panel. Welcome to our audience here. Great to see you here in London. Of course, welcome to you at home as well. And don't forget, you can always watch this programme on a podcast after we transmit on BBC Sounds. Now, I just wanted to say, before we start, with what's happened in Israel and what is now unfolding in Gaza, understandably, there are strong emotions on this subject. And we will make sure that all views are heard here tonight with respect. And I want to, before we take our first question, Jake and Halima, I just would like to hear your reflections on the terrible human cost in these last few days. Jake, should we start with you?
Thank you. Well, it's been quite the week. You know, in my community, it's a question of degrees of separation. And my personal degrees of separation is about 2. There's nobody who I know personally, no friends or family who've been killed or who are missing. But there are many friends of friends or family members of friends who have been killed and who are missing. And the brutality, I mean, it's one of those events where you look back to the day before and it feels like a million years ago. The brutality has been horrific. You know, babies beheaded and corpses mutilated, women raped, children raped, families gunned down. In their bomb shelters. And the enormity of it, I think, still hasn't really sunk in. As a journalist covering it, it's a case of having to get your emotions and lock them away somewhere where only you know the combination and you can open it when it's all calms down. I was going to say it's all over, but that might not happen for some time. And I would just say that what it's unleashed is the hell of war, which affects civilians in Gaza, as well, obviously, as civilians in Israel. And like everybody else, I'm sure in this audience, sitting at home, everybody in the Jewish community and around the world, we all understand that every life is as precious as every other life.
Halima.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Jake, for setting the tone of this conversation today. Like you, Well, unlike you, actually, I do have colleagues and friends on both sides who have suffered fatalities. So I work for Action Aid, which is an international humanitarian agency. We have had colleagues in the office who have had relatives killed. We have colleagues in Palestine on Gaza who are being raided as we speak. So I haven't slept for 6 days because we've been trying to manage a response. What I would say is that it's humanity that we need to remember. We need to remember the humanity in this because as we speak, from the luxury of a TV studio in East London, people's homes are being raided. 4,000 people have died so far, women, children and men. Hostages still are being taken and we have air raids going on. So while we have this conversation about how we support Israel-Palestine, get to some peace talks and stop their violence, we need to come at this conversation with that humanity at our hearts.
Let's take our first question then on this subject from Poppy Farron.
Hi. How on earth do we solve the crisis in the Middle East after the horrific events?
Which is a massive question. Victoria.
Well, first of all, please thank you to Jake and to Halima for putting the very human tragedies of this at the forefront of our minds. The solution is a two-state one, but the way that we achieve that is not through the acts of terror that we have seen from Hamas over the weekend and the horrific stories that are revealing themselves to us as to the depths of depravity that have been enacted against innocent people going about their lives day in, day out. We have to hope that with the concerted support of friends and allies of Israel, such as the UK, we stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel. We have to hope that international organisations such as the UN can help to broker talks between the two sides, but we need to be very clear.
Can you see any prospect of that?
We need to be very clear that Hamas is a terrorist organisation, so it is with the people of Palestine that we must talk, not with this terrorist organisation. They have behaved beyond our comprehension, and we cannot and must not and will not try to negotiate with them.
Yvette?
I think it's just unbearable to see the stories of what's happened, this scale of this terrorist attack, the scale of the young people